All right, so
Yeah.
this was pretty interesting. You shared this couple's year-end financial review, and it's really kind of fascinating. Not just about their budget, but how life kind of just throws things at you that can really affect your money. So this couple, Darius and Carmen, they're life insurance agents, so they're already pretty open when it comes to talking about finances, right? But they share how losing their daughter really hit their money decisions hard this year.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, personal finance, not all spreadsheets. It's about real life,
Yeah.
throwing punches sometimes. So we're going to break down their whole budgeting process, their aha moments, and how they actually use this whole experience to grow, both financially and just personally. So get ready for some stuff you can relate to about communicating goals and, finding that upside when things are tough. Right away, Darius and Carmen, they give themselves a D- for managing their money. Kind of harsh, right? They're definitely not trying to make things sound better than they are. And as they go deeper, you start to see some tension. They have totally different ways of handling the budget. Carmen's all about the big picture. Are the bills paid? Awesome. She's not sweating the small stuff. But Darius needs to see all the details, like every single line. And that difference, it causes some serious friction. Darius feels like Carmen isn't taking their money seriously enough. And Carmen gets frustrated having to go through every little transaction. Their communication is, well, it's totally broken down. And it's obviously taken a toll. But here's where their story gets really interesting. Instead of ignoring the problem, they tackle it head on. They admit they're frustrated and start figuring out what's really going on. And they realize their anger isn't about the budget itself. It's about how they each dealt with losing their daughter.
What's really interesting here is how they each dealt with their grief so differently. Carmen was just in survival mode, right? Trying to keep her head above water. All those budget details felt overwhelming, like just one more thing to deal with.
Yeah, totally. And then Darius, uh, it's like he went all in on the numbers, almost like he was trying to find control, in the situation where everything felt out of control.
Exactly, like he was searching for answers, some kind of order, in the middle of this huge loss. So,
How do they bridge that gap? I mean, their approaches are like night and day.
well, once they realize their communication breakdown is really coming from their own ways of coping, things start to change. Carmen agrees to do the detailed review, even though it's not her style. And Darius promises to give her the key takeaways, so she doesn't get lost in the weeds.
Okay, that's a
Yeah.
big step. They're meeting each other halfway, recognizing what the other person needs.
And that's when the real magic happens. They start having those aha moments, the kind that only come from digging deeper.
This is where it gets really interesting. They start going through their expenses, and bam, a major aha moment.
Exactly. Carmen finds out they're spending a ton of money on streaming services, over $2,000 a year.
Wow, that's a lot of cash. Did they have like a million subscriptions or something?
Seems like it. They were basically paying for a whole cable package, stuff they weren't even watching. You know that classic subscription creep? We all fall for it.
So, what'd they do? Cancel everything?
Not quite. They got strategic. They kept a couple must-have services and ditched the rest. This is a perfect example of how a detailed review can show you where to, not just cut expenses, but find opportunities.
Right. It's about being intentional with your money.
Absolutely. They also realized they're not getting the most out of their credit card rewards. They were using multiple cards and missing out on valuable travel points.
So, what's the answer? Put everything on one super card?
Pretty much. They decided to focus on the VentureX card. It has great travel perks and miles. And here's the really smart part. They find ways to move money around, to actually increase their travel budget.
Wait, increase? I thought they were trying to cut back.
They are, but strategically. By getting rid of extra streaming services and using their credit card rewards better, they free up money to spend on something they really value,
Yeah.
travel.
That's pretty clever. It's not just about cutting back. It's about making choices that match what's important to you.
Exactly. And what's really powerful about this whole thing is it's not just about numbers. Their budget becomes a reflection of their journey through grief.
You're right. They see how their emotions affected their money decisions. It's like a map of their healing process. It's like their spending was telling a whole story, a story they didn't even know until they really looked at it.
Exactly. And that's what's so cool about doing this kind of deep dive. It's not just about balancing your checkbook. It's about understanding yourself and how you connect with money on a much deeper level.
And for Darius and Carmen, this whole thing also made them even more committed to their work as life insurance agents. After going through that kind of loss, they really get how important financial security is, especially during tough times.
Yeah, it's like their personal tragedy became this driving force for their work. They talk about how getting the death benefit from their daughter's life insurance policy gave them some relief, some breathing room, so they could focus on healing and planning for the future.
It really shows how life insurance can be that safety net, that peace of mind, when families need it most.
Absolutely. And it shows how strong Darius and Carmen are, that they were able to turn their grief into something positive for
Yeah.
themselves and their clients.
If we bring this back to you listening, what are the big things we could learn from Darius and Carmen's story?
Well, first of all, it reminds us that personal finance, it's all mixed up with our emotions and what we go through in life. We all have tough times, and those times definitely shape how we think about money.
It's like our budget. It's a mirror of what's going on inside us, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be open and honest with your partner about money, especially when life throws those curveballs.
Think about it. Have you ever made a money decision when you were super stressed or emotional, maybe bought something you didn't need, or put off paying bills?
We've all done it. And that's exactly what Darius and Carmen's story shows us. It's like they're holding up a mirror to our own financial lives, showing us how our emotions can control our money choices.
Oh, yeah. Totally been there. Like that time I booked a last-minute trip after a really bad breakup. Not my best money move.
We all have those moments, but the important thing is to see those patterns and find healthier ways to cope.
So, what can we take away from Darius and Carmen's experience?
They talk about how important it is to be understanding, to see things from each other's point of view, and to find the good, even when things are hard. It's about working together as a team, supporting each other through the ups and downs.
And maybe using those challenges to grow, both personally and financially.
Exactly. Darius and Carmen's story is a powerful reminder that even when we're dealing with grief and financial setbacks, there's always room for understanding, resilience, and even joy.
Their experience makes us think about how our own emotions might be affecting our money choices. Are there things we could do better to talk to our partners about money? And are we letting ourselves feel all those emotions that come with life, the good and the bad, without letting them mess up our finances? Remember, you're not alone in this. Darius and Carmen's story shows us that even when things are really tough, we can find a way to handle our money with purpose, compassion, and hope.